Hey guys, it's Cayley. I am back with another What Sold from Last Week video. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my sales report on eBay and Poshmark. We're also going to dive into some of those individual sales and talk about what is selling right now. I think for this video, we're just going to dive right into it. All right, you guys. So the sales that we're going to be going over happened between September 22nd through the 28th. In total, I sold 288 items, had a somewhat slower sales week compared to what I have been doing at about $8,000. My average item sale price was around $28. We are running sales and moving some things out. On eBay, I sold most of my higher priced items. I sold 142 on eBay, 146 on Poshmark. My average item sale price on eBay was around $39, which is amazing. Poshmark definitely dragged that down at around $16. Like I said, we've been running sales, flushing some stuff out, so a lot of lower price stuff. This also includes our Poshmark live sale items in our sales, which means if we sell things for $5 to $15 on our live shows, that is included. And I think that's also a main reason this is getting dropped down, just because on live shows things typically sell for less money. All right, let's dive in to some of these full price sales. I am very excited to have a lot of new bolos to share with you. First up, this is something in general I would be looking for, which is really high quality Western outerwear. This is by a brand I'm not really familiar with called Shop Bros, but one I would keep my eye out for. This is a ranch style Western fringe jacket. The fringe, the material, the size, all of that is definitely going to add value to your piece. But I would say in general, regardless of brand, a style like this is definitely worth looking into. We listed this Rancher Shop Bros men's Western leather fringe jacket for $150, and this took about a month to sell at full asking price. Next up, this is a brand that has been gaining popularity again, especially the taller boots. This is Frye. So both men's and women's and the taller boots I would absolutely look out for. I feel like Frye is popular every year around fall and winter just because they have pretty high quality leather stuff. We listed these at $65 and they sold for full asking price. Some people are listing theirs much higher. However, I want to ensure that mine sells quickly. 20 people were watching that item and this took 5 days to sell. Next up, this was a handmade item, which I thought was the coolest sale ever. This is a handmade chainmail shoulder bag with velvet lining. Really interesting artsy piece. Anything chainmail, whether it's, a dress, a shirt, a bag, I would look it up even if you don't have the brand, because it is a very rare kind of material that you don't see a lot of, which typically means people are willing to pay up for it. We listed this handmade bag for $70. There were 15 people watching it, so very trendy. And it ended up selling for an offer of $59. This one took only a couple of weeks to sell, which is really good for a handmade item. Next up, I recently picked this up at a local thrift store. It was priced up, but they were running a sale. I went back and forth on whether to get it. I ultimately ended up getting it, and I'm glad I did. These are a pair of men's Polo Ralph Lauren cargo jeans. Pretty much any kind of interesting, different looking Ralph Lauren piece I always look up just because it usually pans out. These in general were going for about the $40, $50 mark. I listed mine at $40 because there was a lot of wear to them, and they sold for full asking price after a few weeks of being listed. Next up, this is definitely a brand that you want to keep your eye out for. It is James Purse. Standard by James Purse is one of their lines, and I like showing these because it's just understated clothing. It's definitely something, if you didn't know about it, you would be passing on. These are pretty plain pair of men's Chino pants. The men's stuff in James Purse does particularly well. They're known for a minimalist capsule wardrobe type of brand. A lot of their pieces are very plain. I listed this pair of Chino pants for $50. It did take a few months to sell. Next up, this is Cashmere, and bringing this up because pretty much any brand that is 100% cashmere and no holes is generally going to do pretty well for you during this time of the year. I can usually at least get $25 even for a pretty lesser known brand cashmere piece. This one is by Barney's New York. It is a vintage label 100% cashmere short sleeve sweater. Listed this for $50. It did sell for our full asking price, and this one took a few months to sell. 26 people were watching this one. So apparently Barney's New York vintage, especially in cashmere, one to be on the lookout for. Next up, this is a collaboration. I always say if you see any kind of a collaboration, meaning two brands on the same label, just look it up. You would be surprised at how many collaborations in mall brands, even Banana Republic, Gap, Madewell, all those brands that are in collaboration with a different brand, you'd be surprised at how often they have a good sell-through rate and average sale price. This brand Tombolo is known for their terry cloth pieces. To be honest with you, had I not learned about this brand, I would say that I would probably pass on these shorts. So I'm glad that I do know that some terry cloth pieces can do well, because otherwise it just isn't something I'd be looking at, especially shorts during this time of the year. These ones also had quite a few issues with it. We still listed them at $60. Had they not had those issues, we would have listed for more, and they sold on an offer for $50. These ones actually sold the same day that we got them listed. I'm not familiar with the brand Les Serenus, but I am familiar with Tombolo now. So Tombolo again is known for their terry cloth pieces like this. If you see terry cloth, check and see if it is Tombolo. They make also polo shirts for men, I think is what they're most known for, and those are very pricey. A lot of them go for over $100 pre-owned. This is just an Anthropology piece. I'm very picky with Anthropology. One thing I did want to point out is if you have a combination of corduroy and wide leg pants, regardless of brand, I would definitely take a look into that combination because it is very trendy. These ones I listed at $50 and they sold on an offer to watcher for $42. These only took 5 days to sell. Next up, this is a listing we definitely could have had a better title on. We did not include the word hoodie and instead marketed it as zip-up jackets. So I definitely wish we would have put hoodie because I think it would have sold a lot faster, but regardless, it did still sell. This is kind of like on the lower end of a Lucky Brand bolo. One of the Lucky Brand bolos are their Y2K hoodies and sweatpants. Mostly in Lucky Brand, if you find like their Asian Y2K prints, those perform the best, like dragons, like heavily embroidered stuff. That's typically what performs well in these. This one was, I would call it adjacent to that. So it was a vintage Y2K label, but it wasn't that exact aesthetic people were looking for. But I decided to take a risk on it and just price lower and see how it went. So we did include Y2K in it, which I'm glad we did. Definitely could have had a better title if we would have included the word hoodie, but this still ended up selling for $45. It sold for our full asking price. It did, however, take several months to sell. I think if we would have put the keyword hoodie in it, it would have sold even sooner. And 12 people were watching this item. So vintage Y2K Lucky Brand stuff, definitely something to be on the lookout for, especially in hoodies. Next up, this is one of my favorites shoe wear brands to sell in the women's department. I can't say that about a lot of women's shoe brands, but definitely this one. It's Fly London. You can usually tell because they have a certain tread look to them, typically high quality leathers and artsy. And the bottoms of them usually say Fly London. These were a pair of Yala open toe Wedge boots. I listed these for $40. They did sell for our full asking price. And these only took 5 days to sell. So keep your eye out for Fly London. I would be particular in the style and the size, but generally speaking, it's a solid pickup with a high ASP. This is another style-based piece. This is very on trend right now. This is Victoria's Secret. It's a Y2K style baby doll top. And yeah, just a little slip top. You can usually find these in the sleeper section. Depending on the style you have, they can perform very well. This baby doll top area right here is definitely why this one sold. Listed this high at $40. 19 people were watching this item. Again, just to show you how trendy some of the factor combinations in this piece are. Listed this one for $40. It sold for my full asking price, and it only took 2 days to sell. So in 2 days, 19 people were watching the item and then bought it at full price at $40, which is insane for a pre-owned slip top that was probably found in the sleepwear section. If you guys are interested in learning more, doing some deep dives and adding style-based pieces like this into your sourcing, make sure to check out Reseller's Edge. Consider joining because your subscription will definitely pay off just by learning some of these style-based things. Next up, this is another bread and butter thing I look for. It is Lauren Ralph Lauren plus size pieces. This one is a 3X. It's new with tags. So we actually paid up for this because it was new with tags. This is a button-up striped top, and we listed this one for $40. I can almost always get pre-owned in plus size Lauren Ralph Lauren tops $25. So whenever there's a special factor or possibly the condition's better, we listed a lot higher. So Neva Tags listed this at $40. It did sell for our full asking price. This one only took 3 days to sell. This is another brand I like getting in plus sizes. Generally speaking, performs pretty well for me, especially in their tops. Their sweaters and other stuff I'm a little bit more picky on, but their tops for sure. This is Land's End. I come across a lot of Land's End, so I like having something I frequently come across that I can look for in plus sizes. This is a women's plaid vest. It was new without tags. It had some tags, just not the brand label. I listed this at $35, and this sold within just a couple of weeks of listing. Next up, we talked about collaborations before. This is one I went back and forth on at the thrift store just because the sell-through rate wasn't super high, but I just got it and priced it lower than everyone else. It is Marnie for Uniqlo. I actually saw an exact comp for the shirt, and mine was a larger size. Listed this one for $40, and it sold on an offer to watcher for $34. This one also only took about a week to sell. So again, with the collaborations, if you see 2 brands on something, not saying get it every time, but definitely an indicator to look it up. One of my viewers and friends at the bins actually gave this to me. Thank you so much if you are watching. This is a beautiful green LL Bean vintage women's cardigan. This is definitely a factor stacking piece. I love high quality LL Bean stuff. It's one of my best selling bread and butter brands. This one, like I said, just had tons of factors. It was a longer length cardigan, so a more substantial piece in a larger size extra large. It had cable knit details. It had toggles on it. Definitely a great factor piece. Plus it was half wool. You can see 8 people were watching this item. Like I said, I got this at the bins from a friend. Listed this at $37. It sold very quickly in just 4 days for an offer to watcher of $31. So great bread and butter. I'm kind of thinking just how quickly it sold. Maybe we could have priced it slightly higher. Absolutely fantastic sale. Next up, this is another style-based piece. This is not a brand I know anything about or one that you should memorize. However, this is a wonderful style. You can tell it's a pretty plain piece, but again, there are a lot of powerful factor combos happening right now. One of them is that this is a Y2K piece. Velvet is very trendy right now. Not everything velvet, but depending on what you have. In this case, it's the darker kind of iridescent look with the red and the black that is fitting into lots of different style aesthetics like Y2K, Whimsy Goth, Vampire. I could have seen this going 100 different ways, especially around October when Halloween's happening. I could see somebody using this in a costume. Listed this one for $35, and it did sell at our full asking price in a month of listing. And again, just a style-based pickup. These are super easy to find in just about any brand. Next up, Flint Tender, one of my favorite men's brands to sell, is still going very strong for me, so I thought I would share this with you. This is a pair of new with tags men's Chino pants. Listed these for $35. They sold on an offer for $30, and these only took 4 days to sell. Next up, another bread and butter plus size brand I like getting is Tal Bits. I do try to stick to more substantial pieces. This one is a 2X. It's a very officey top. It's longer sleeve, nice color. Listed this one for $30, and it sold within just a couple of weeks for our full asking price. Here's that brand Frye. These are not a pair of tall boots like we were talking about before, but they are a pair of ballet flats, which do have a decent sell-through rate. These ones did have a lot of just, I guess, not really wear, but distressing to the leather, which we made sure to note, and I priced accordingly according to the wear. So I listed these at $35. They sold on an offer to watcher for $29. These ones sold within just 4 days of listing. I also got another pair of these, and I think those also sold as well. So keep your eye out for Frye. If there's a little bit of distressing, you could potentially price lower to make sure that sell-through rate stays there. But Frye can be an excellent brand to look for in leather goods. Here's Land's End again. This one is a tunic neck sweater. I want to emphasize that the tops perform the best. However, I will make exceptions occasionally for sweaters and other things. This one is a Land's End size 3X, a tunic sweater. The main reason I got it was because it was purple, which is trending in October. I listed this for $30. It sold on an offer to watcher for $25. This one did take about a month and a half to sell. All right, this was another style-based piece. You guys aren't gonna believe it. It's Charlotte Roose. Very cheap brand back in the day, but all of the factors were aligned. It is silk, it's baby doll, it's got that beautiful fairy aesthetic, lots of details going for it. Again, that powerful combination, making this a really desirable piece. And 46 people watching it, guys. I like that I can just point out to you how many people were watching the item when it sold, because I think for style-based things, you can just see how trendy it was. So this sold for, I listed at $35. It sold on an offer to watcher for $30. And this was also a quick sale. Style-based pieces, definitely happy to add those in. Vintage Charlotte Roose pieces, depending on what they are, can be a desirable brand to look for. This is another bread and butter plus size brand I look for. It's Susan Graver. I am very picky with this one. I try to make sure it's a substantial piece or it's like their liquid knits. This one is a button-up red top, and this one did take several months to sell, but it did sell for around $24, so great bread and butter piece. This is a Walmart brand. Again, powerful factor stacking on this one. And I priced this one actually higher. Normally I would not price a Walmart brand, especially pre-owned, for very high, but I actually priced this one up because, again, style wise, it was very trendy. This one is a plus size JMS, just my size, button up, purple velvet shirt. Listed this for $30. It sold very quickly on an offer to watcher for $25. I love proving to myself and everybody else that it really just depends on what it is. Never completely X out a brand. Next up, this is another style-based piece. This is vintage Y2K, the limited. And this is a very on-trend piece as well. Brown's sheer lace. Also with a longer sleeve, I think that really helped moving into the colder weather. It used to be that sheer pieces actually decreased value, but I'm finding that depending on what they are, sheer can actually add value in some pieces. Listed this one for $30. It did sell for our full asking price, and it only took a couple of weeks to sell. Next up, this is a newer brand to me in the men's department. We are starting to go out of season of golf wear and polos in general. I came across several of these at a thrift store. Only reason that I looked at them was because of their wacky prints. I looked them up. I felt like there was enough sell-through rate to test these out before golf season ended, and I'm glad I did because they've all been selling. I think it's pronounced Hreski, H-R-E-S-K-I. Again, crazy graphic prints. They felt like that very thick athletic feel, which is another reason I looked at them. This I listed for $30. It did sell for our full asking price and it only took a few weeks to sell. This is another style-based flip. This is a Y2K vintage Nike men's hoodie. I listed this for $30. It did sell for our full asking price. This one did take several months to sell. We definitely could have added some better keywords to this and sold it even quicker. Hindsight's 2020, so we're going to move on with the sale. Another style-based one, this is just Old Navy. This is a vintage Old Navy powerful factor stacking combo within this one. You can see some of the keywords that we decided to use. We listed this for $25, $30 35 people watching it. Don't just take my word for it. Here's some data to show you. 35 people were watching it. Got this one at the bins. Very easy to find at the bins for very cheap. Stuff like this, regardless of brand. And this one only took a couple of months to sell. Moving on to some of the Poshmark pieces. This is a newer bolo brand to me. I think it's pronounced Alana Cone. Very high retail and pretty decent ASP as well for pre-owned stuff. So Alana Cone, keep your eye out for it. Very muted piece, but high quality feeling. This one ended up selling on an offer for $80, and it was just a sleeveless midi dress. I've mentioned this brand before. This is one of my favorite men's brands to sell. It's probably the most popular men's brand right now. If not number one, definitely top 5. Very high sell-through rate. This is just a men's ribbed cotton shirt. It sold on an offer for $42. Like I said, high sell-through rate, high ASP. Definitely keep your eye out on pretty much anything tailor stitch. Another new-ish bolo brand to me, I've mentioned this one before. It's called Newworks. And here's the label here. This is a very good brand to look for. This one is a pretty plain jumpsuit and an understated piece. Very high quality. This one went for $100. A lot of their stuff isn't as understated, so you just gotta, again, know the label. But Newworks is actually absolutely something that I'd keep my eye out for. Next up is JCrew. I actually really love finding JCrew leather footwear. It performs extremely well for me. They make some really high quality leather shoes. These are a really cool pair of boots that I saw some good comps for. I think I listed these around $50 on Posh, and they sold on an offer for $40. This is a newer athletic wear brand that has been performing extremely well. It's called Pop Flex. Pretty good following. This is a one-piece jumpsuit. It did have like a little flaw with the bra pad missing, so we listed it a little bit lower, and it sold for $40. I've sold a couple things in this brand now, and definitely an athletic wear brand that is up and coming. Next up, this is more of a style-based flip. It's by the brand Zara. Very, very picky with Zara. It's got to be like a blogger favorite or have a lot of style-based factor stacking. This one I felt was very on trend for obvious reasons. It's got the sheer overlay, it's heavily embroidered, it's long sleeve, darker contrasting colors. This ended up selling for $25. Here's another style-based pickup. I hardly ever get American Eagle in anything anymore, but this one was a corduroy wide leg jumpsuit. I think we originally listed it for $35. It sold on an offer for $29. This is also a very trendy color right now, burnt oranges for fall. Alright guys, that is it for what sold last week. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you are not already, consider subscribing down below, hitting the notification bell, and making sure to hit all if you want to be notified every single time I post a video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.